Okay, before you get up all on me about complaining about this, I just want to make it clear. My criticism in all of this video is not towards the creatives of these things. It's towards the publishers and the executives, alright? So with that out of the way, let's get right into it. And when it comes to crunch, as you saw in the video's title, what is usually the two biggest perpetrators of crunch today would be video game houses, developers, whatever you want to call it, development houses, and also anime studios. I'm not saying this doesn't exist in other areas, say of Hollywood or whatever. But these are the areas I want to talk about because they're the most just slimy and disgusting and egregious, alright? Now, there's an argument that I want to just completely nip in the bud first off, which is nobody forces them to crunch, there's no contractual obligation, but it's like, there isn't, but there is, because while it's not contractually obligated, it's basically expected that you crunch when you're making a game, at least a AAA game, or say when you're working on an anime or whatever, and if you don't crunch, then once your contract expires, then you're gonna get fired, okay? And crunching, that means, like, let's say, for 2 months, you're having like 12 to 16 hour work days every day, sleeping under your desk, that sort of thing. It's insane that this is almost expected in some areas to me, and it just makes my blood boil. As someone who enjoys this stuff and kind of values the creatives more than the executives, you know what I mean? I think it's important to remember, because I'm talking about games first, that game developers are people too, right? Just like you and me, and they're what makes these things possible, right? The executives, the publishers, sure, them too, but I care more about the creatives. I mean, just imagine how much better these companies would be, maybe not so much at, breaking even, whatever, but at making something good and polished if it was just run by the developers themselves. But I'm getting a little bit off track here, so deadlines, right? Deadlines, I have a real problem with deadlines when it comes to creative things, if that makes sense, especially these big things like when you see a trailer and it's like, coming out April 20th, 2021. It's like, that kind of makes me cringe, because would it be so bad if the trailer said, and this is obviously in layman's terms, if the trailer said, coming out in approximately 2 years, I would have no issue with that, because there are oftentimes things that like hold up a game development cycle, whatever, and take longer than you think, and you're like, oh, this could actually be done so much better, this will make it way more fun. Like, deadlines should just be less concrete, because, for example, with the AAA developers that rarely hit these deadlines home, they're like, you have to have it done by this time or you're going to get the thing is, they can usually afford to push back these games, like Activision, okay, maybe not Ubisoft. They're kind of at a problem right now because all the games have sucked in the last little while, but, so most game publishers like EA, Activision, they can afford to push things back a little bit. And what's funny, the thing that has actually made them make less money recently, okay, is the fact that they've been pushing things out of the gate, and that means less sales. Maybe if they just let the developers actually work at a normal pace and not get crunched and not have all their creativity sucked out of them and not have to release broken messes, maybe they would be making more money. It's a crazy theory that I'm throwing out there, okay, Gamers themselves, not all gamers, okay, like, I'm just saying, there's a certain subset of gamers that are not blameless in this. Do you remember when Cyberpunk 2077 was getting all the delays, right? You had some people saying, or I would like to think at least 50% or 60% of people saying, take your time, whatever, But there was at least 40% of gamers, I'd like to say, that were just being like, get your shit together, this should be released when you said it was going to be released, another delay, and I'm going to jump your head. And obviously that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's also not, because the developers did kind of receive death threats. Now, I know that was probably like 10 people, 20 people, but you know what I'm saying. So even death threats aside, there are tons of people demanding, like, you better not delay this again. And the funny thing, okay, I can't blame, again, this doesn't go to the developers. I don't blame the developers for this, but that, for example, we got like a 40-minute trailer for Cyberpunk 2077, which was actually revealed, it was meant to look like gameplay, but it was actually revealed to all be like animated, like it wasn't real gameplay, right? And you can't fault the developers for that. That's not the developers' fault. That's the executives' fault for wanting to do that in the first place, for wanting to lie to the consumer. And then we had this unrealistic expectation. Oh, this is what the game's like. Oh, cool, and then we get it in our hands and it's almost nothing like that. The thing is, like, right, with Cyberpunk 2077, it was announced in, what was it, 2012, 2013, but it actually only started getting properly developed like late 2015 when the Last Witcher 3 DLC came out, okay? So that's like, what, 4 years of development for the type of game they were promising. That is just not nearly enough. I mean, look at Red Dead Redemption 2. That took them 8 years. 8 years for Red Dead Redemption 2. And you're telling me you think that what they were trying to do with Cyberpunk 2077 could have been done in 4? No damn way. Especially since CD Projekt Red is smaller than Rockstar, and it's all this like a concept of crunch and games have to come out so quickly and whatever that is ruining these creative industries, in my opinion. And while most of the blame does fall on executives and, you know, publishers, I do think there is a problem with gamers that needs to be addressed of just, you know, oh, this has to come out now. Oh, I need a new game. And it's like, I feel like we don't. I feel like we have enough. I really feel like we have enough games as it is. And you might say, well, that's because things are coming out all the time. But no, think about all the really quality games that have come out and, you know, just how often you play them. And not only would this be good in the sense of everything, like there'd be so much more quality control in all of this, right? It would be better for the consumer for that reason. It'd be better for the developers for, you know, their living. I mean, some people have literally been stress casualties on development teams. It drives me nuts that that's even a thing, right? When that originated with PTSD and soldiers and now it's happening to people developing a game. I mean, that just should not happen.
I also love how some people will pretend like, you know, their favorite game developers don't crunch, or they'll just defend them from it. Like, oh, but look how good the game is. Like Red Dead Redemption 2. I love that game. I really, really do. And I love the effort they put into it. But Rockstar was crunching them boys. And it's just a fact you gotta accept.
That's basically all I've got to say on the gaming side. And there's going to be some overlap on the anime side, obviously. But, you know, for example, let's take Attack on Titan Season 4 when we're talking about anime. Obviously, the studio called WIT dropped it, and a studio called MAPPA picked it up. And why did that happen? Because WIT, after Season 3 Part 2, was like, we just do not at the time. We cannot make a Season 4 that we are proud of in this, like, so Season 3 Part 2 came out in July of 2019, and Season 4 came out in December of 2020. That's like just a year and a bit for something that had 16 episodes, okay? 16 episodes, 20 minutes each. That's longer than a feature film, and most feature films are given at least 2 to 3 years to be made, and this was given less than that. Like, you know how the Colossal Titan looked in Season 3 Part 2 of Attack on Titan? You know who we have to blame for that? Executives who just want to push things out. And, you know, it's at that point when I say, okay, yeah, it kind of sucked that there was way more CGI in Season 4. But can you really blame them? And to be honest, for the time crunch they were on, for how little they get paid, mind you, that was damn good CGI. I mean, I can't be mad at it when it comes to the artist perspective. I can be mad at it when it comes to the fact that they were even driven to doing that the talented artists were driven to doing that. But, you know, I watch that, and if I ever get a little bit annoyed, I'm getting annoyed at the executives that are just pushing this stuff, you know, and not giving the animators the time that they deserve to make these things properly. And not only that, the money. I mean, they're so talented and they work on so little. It's so egregious in the anime industry where they just so badly treated these animators, and it actually just feels so weird, both in terms of games, okay, and anime, where you're like, the people who make this definitely want you to be watching it. I mean, it's their work, it's their blood, sweat, and tears, but then it also feels weird to be watching it because you're like, am I complicit in what they're doing? And it's like, kind of, like, obviously not, but, you know, that thought has run through my head a few times. Bear in mind that if the industry was better and less just so money hungry and just always going on and on and on, then Season 4 would probably have been done by Studio WIT. Now, going back to my point of, if things were less rushed and whatever, we may have less frequency of things coming out, but we would have better quality things coming out. So, you know, when Dragon Ball Super Broly came out, everybody lost all their crap. It looked so amazing, and it really did, and it's just such a great thing to watch. Now, I'm not saying everything has to be Dragon Ball Super Broly level, but just as a thought experiment, imagine if instead of Dragon Ball Z had all this tons of filler and whatever, and you know, just recycled animations. And I love Dragon Ball Z, I'm just saying, okay, but imagine if instead of that, they spent their time meticulously doing everything. And so, let's say then that like every arc of Dragon Ball Z was 3/4 of the quality of Dragon Ball Super Broly. Wouldn't that be the better alternative? Yeah, it would have taken longer to come out, but it would have so much more rewatch value. It would be so much better to watch the first time, and it would be just way better done all around, and the animators would probably feel more proud of their work, and they wouldn't be worked to death at the same time, dude. I mean, you can take it as far as Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Super. Would you rather have what Dragon Ball Super looked like when it was coming out? Because it really started out looking really rocky. It got a little bit better as it, went on, but would you rather have Dragon Ball Super quality all the time so you can keep your frequency of always anime, always more anime, or would you rather people spent their time? You had little breaks from this series and that series, longer breaks from this series and that series, and when they come back, they really look pristine and great. Not perfect, but just so much better, dude. Now, even with my favorite series of all time, Naruto, I can see that it had a lot of flaws that were just present just because of the anime industry. Right, and this was before it even got super bad. Now, these flaws became worse and worse over time as the anime industry has devolved more and more, like from Naruto to Naruto Shippuden. But, there's a part of me that's like, oh, this would be so much better if it didn't have filler within the canon episodes. If it didn't have these animators working day in and day out on filler episodes. Imagine how much better things like the Pain fight. I'm not saying the Pain fight looks bad, it looks fine, it looks good, but so imagine how much better the Pain fight would look, the Guy versus Rock Lee fight, which does look great, but I'm just saying, imagine how much better all these things would look, and how much more consistent all these things would look, okay? Imagine Naruto with Attack on Titan level animation. That would just be my dream come true. I mean, I yearn for a redo of Naruto, okay, with like 400 fewer episodes, and just only canon stuff, and just way less filler within the canon, and just animated to perfection. But that doesn't mean I want that would have come out rushed. I would want them to take that as long as it would take, even if that would take them 10 years, okay? I just hate the way these animators and these game developers are being treated. Simple as that. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I had for you today. Maybe I forgot some pretty key important points. I don't know. If you got any, leave them in the comments below and just have a little discussion there. Yeah, because again, especially with these videos, it's all about opening a dialogue and starting a discussion. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.